Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a guy whose daily routine is just incredibly fascinating.
Oh, it really is.
Right, so he spends his mornings practicing these deeply rooted ancient spiritual traditions. And then at the exact same time, he is archiving every single thought about them on a Linux computer.
Using a custom artificial intelligence, no less.
Exactly. You are about to get this highly intimate look into a stack of private AI chat logs. And these are totally real. They are timestamped today, actually, Friday, May 22nd, 2026.
Yeah, and they document this real-time conversation between a user named Murty and his personal AI assistant, which he calls Littlebird.
It is just such a striking contrast.
It's a complete collision of two totally different worlds. I mean, on one side, you have thousands of years of human heritage, and then on the other, you have this bleeding-edge digital longevity.
Right, he jumps from discussing deep Ayurvedic philosophy to, like, troubleshooting cloud-based API limits in the same breath. It's wild.
It is. And by looking at how Murty interacts with Littlebird, we're essentially getting a masterclass in how you might manage information overload.
Totally.
He's using this tech to consciously bridge the gap between his ancestral past and his digital future.
So to really ground us in this, we need to look at Murty's immediate reality. He is the digital migration strategist at Potti Sreeramulu Telugu University.
Specifically at their campus in Bimaru Rajamahendravaram.
Right, thank you. And tomorrow, so May 23rd, 2026, the university is actually hosting its first ever Foundation Day.
Which is a huge deal. And the theme for this massive conference is folk medicine-scientific.
Folk medicine scientific.
Yeah, and that theme is just the perfect synthesis of what Murty is trying to achieve. Because if you think about how folk medicine traditionally works, it's oral.
Right, it's passed down by word of mouth.
Exactly. It's deeply localized. It's passed down anecdotally through generations. So the university's goal with this event is to translate that intuitive ancestral wisdom into categorized, peer-reviewed scientific frameworks.
And they are bringing in some serious academic power to actually do this. The logs mention Dr. G.V. Purnachan is on the roster.
Oh, yeah. He has authored over 120 books dedicated to breaking down ancient Ayurveda so it's accessible to the modern public.
Which is just a staggering feat. Writing 120 books, that is a monumental effort in categorizing unstructured knowledge.
It really is. And the source material also notes they have Dr. Chirumamila Murali Manohar speaking.
Right, and he represents, like, the modern reach of this knowledge. He runs a massive YouTube presence that focuses entirely on holistic healing systems.
Yeah, and then to underscore just how significant this milestone is for the region, the logs mention the chief guest for the assembly is the Honorable Garantla Bachaya Chaudhary,
who is a veteran political leader and a former pro tem speaker of the AP Assembly. He's a TDP leader, Rajamundry Rural MLA.
And just to be completely clear for you listening, we're not taking any political sides here. We're just impartially reporting the facts from the source material. His presence at the event is just evidence of the high-profile nature of this milestone. It shows this isn't just some niche, quiet academic gathering.
Right. It's a major cultural initiative. It establishes that the legacy of this region is culturally vital enough to demand formal preservation.
And you can't just host a single conference to preserve this kind of heritage. I mean, you have to record it, you have to digitize it, categorize it, make it searchable for future generations.
Which requires an incredibly robust digital infrastructure. It kind of reminds me of the struggle to update a legacy operating system.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, like you have this incredible classic software, in this case, thousands of years of folk medicine, but it simply won't run on modern hardware without a massive translation effort.
Right. And the conference is that initial translation, but Murty's personal mission is basically building the server that will actually host it all.
Which sounds great until you realize that building that server is incredibly difficult when the physical world is actively working against you.
Oh, man, yeah. The chat logs detail this brutal summer heat wave hitting his region right now. The feels like temperature is 52 degrees Celsius.
52 degrees, which is, for context, roughly 125 degrees Fahrenheit.
That is a level of heat that physically dictates how you exist.
Yeah, we've all had weather ruin our plans, but this is an existential hurdle. It completely restructures his day.
He literally tells Littlebird that any physical outdoor activity has to be completed strictly in the morning.
Right, so that includes his office hours at the university and also his Saturday morning routine at the Hanuman Temple in Pasabella. He has to get all that done early.
Because after 4 p.m., basic survival just forces him to retreat indoors to the AC, and the moment he does that, he shifts identities.
He explicitly tells his AI that he is transitioning into a home power researcher.
Yes. He boots up his older compact laptop running the Linux Mint operating system, and he pairs his newly cooperative Bluetooth headset so he doesn't have to deal with tangled wires.
And this is where I have to pause. Because, the sources present what looks like a glaring contradiction to me.
How so?
Well, in the morning, Murty is this deeply spiritual individual, right? He's practicing Nath and Purna yoga.
Right.
He's doing temple circumambulations, which is the practice of walking mindfully around a sacred object or temple. These are intensely embodied physical traditions.
Very focused on breath and presence.
Exactly. Moving away from modern distraction. But then by 4 p.m., he is obsessively focused on screen time. He's optimizing his Linux Mint laptop. He's tweaking his Bluetooth settings.
It seems like a disconnect.
Yeah. Why is someone so rooted in the physical and the ancient so fixated on tech optimization?
Well, you have to look at how those two things actually connect for him. So Nath and Purna yoga are indeed about mastering the physical body and breath.
Right.
But Murty recognizes that the physical body has a hard expiration date. I mean, that 52-degree heat wave is a daily glaring reminder of physical limits.
Oh, that's a really good point.
So for Murty, technology isn't a distraction from his spiritual life. It is the permanent vessel for it. He actually views himself as a digital pilgrim.
A digital pilgrim. I love that term.
Yeah. So instead of traversing a physical desert or a mountain range, his pilgrimage is across the digital landscape.
Wow.
And his overarching goal is to construct what he calls the digital prism.
The digital prism. What exactly is that?
It's his concept for an ultimate permanent archive of his cultural and personal knowledge. But here's the catch. To build that prism, his technology cannot be a source of friction.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Like when you are meditating, a cramped leg breaks your focus.
Yeah, it snaps you out of it.
Exactly. And when you are a digital pilgrim, tangled wires and clunky operating systems break your flow state.
Which perfectly explains why he's so thrilled in these logs about finally getting that Bluetooth headset to cooperate with his older compact laptop.
Every wire he eliminates is a distraction removed.
But to truly build this frictionless vessel, Murty has to solve a much more complex bottleneck in his routine. And this leads us directly into how he handles his podcast.
Right, because if you are trying to digitize an oral history, your absolute biggest challenge is converting the human voice into text without losing the meaning.
So Murty hosts this Spotify podcast called Morning Walk with Murty.
And the audio pipeline he was using to produce it was just staggeringly complex. It was a massive source of digital friction.
I mean, we've all been there, right? Staring at a dozen open browser tabs, dealing with tangled charging cords, trying to get completely different apps to talk to each other.
Yeah, but Murty was living the extreme version of that.
He really was.
Yeah.
So he was using this AI tool called Notebook LM to generate his conversational audio. And the quality was great.
But it had a hard constraint.
Right. A strict 30-minute time limit. So if his generated audio was, say, 31 minutes long,
The AI would just cleanly chop off that final minute.
just delete it, which is a fundamental threat to what he's trying to achieve.
Exactly. Oral storytelling, especially when you're talking about folk medicine or philosophical reflections, it doesn't adhere to a neat 30-minute corporate software timer.
Right. It takes as long as it takes.
Yeah. Cutting off the final minute of a winding narrative might mean deleting the entire thesis or the punchline of the story.
And on top of that time constraint, the output volume from Notebook LM was incredibly low.
So frustrating.
Yeah, so Murty had to take this audio file, manually import it into a program called Audacity, highlight the waveform, and digitally boost the audio levels himself.
Every single day.
Every day. That tedious manual process was robbing him of 15 minutes of focus.
And he wasn't even done then. Because to actually make that audio searchable and indexable for his archive, he needed to transcribe it into text.
Right, so he could publish it on write.as and save it to his personal database, which he calls Notable.
So he was feeding the audio into a transcription tool called TurboScribe. But because he was on the free tier, TurboScribe capped him at just 3 transcriptions.
Oh, wow. So he's constantly hitting these invisible walls constructed by software limits.
Until he experiences what he literally describes to Littlebird as a flood of happy hormones.
A flood of happy hormones.
Yes. He finds this massive breakthrough in the form of Adobe Podcast Studio.
Okay, so how does this new software change things?
The mechanics of this update completely altered his daily routine. He discovered that this Adobe tool, which runs entirely inside his web browser, could handle the entire pipeline.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. It enhances the human voice, it removes unwanted background noise, and most importantly, he found a hidden setting.
Ooh, what does it do?
It identifies multiple speakers and stamps the text with timestamps.
Oh, the multi-speaker timestamping is huge. Because before, his AI transcriptions were just churning out one massive unbroken wall of text, just a solid monologue.
Which doesn't work for a podcast.
Right, his podcast involves complex back-and-forth dialogue. A timestamped transcription captures the actual rhythm of the conversation.
Which is essential for preserving the feel of an authentic oral teaching.
And because this new tool is entirely browser-based, it unlocks Murty's grand unified theory of productivity.
The browser-only environment.
Yes. The chat logs show that Murty uses a whole fleet of devices. He's got his Linux Mint Compact, an HP Mini, an Asus laptop, and this newly acquired Windows Lenovo all-in-one desktop.
A lot of hardware.
Right. And previously, his workflow was chained to whichever machine had the right software installed on it. But now, all the heavy lifting happens in the cloud.
The audio processing, the transcription, the summarizing.
Exactly. He can sit down at any device, regardless of its operating system, open a web browser, and his entire workspace is exactly as he left it.
Imagine you have a kitchen drawer stuffed with 6 highly specialized tangled charging cables for all your various devices.
Ugh, the worst.
Right. And every day you waste time untangling them just to get a little bit of battery life.
Yeah.
Murty essentially threw that entire drawer away and replaced it with a single, universal wireless charging pad.
It doesn't matter what device he sets down, it just works.
And the universe seemingly rewarded this consolidation because he realizes in the logs that he actually has unlimited pro access to this Adobe tool entirely for free.
Wait, how did he manage that?
He theorizes it might be a perk from his Airtel internet provider, or maybe just because he was an early adopter. But the bottom line is the arbitrary limits are gone.
No more 30-minute cutoffs, no more 3 transcription limits.
That universal charger analogy perfectly captures the shift in his cognitive load. Because when you remove the friction of hardware and software limits, you free up an immense amount of mental energy.
But this actually points us to a much deeper question.
Yeah.
Why does a digital migration strategist need an industrial-scale, highly automated content pipeline just for his personal thoughts?
It's a fair question.
Right. He isn't saving those 15 minutes in Audacity so he can go watch television.
Yeah.
He is reallocating that time toward training the very AI he is talking to.
He introduces Littlebird to what he calls his Sophie strategy.
Sophie strategy.
Yeah, this is his chosen beta tester concept.
Okay, break that down for us.
So he realizes that he represents a highly unique edge case for artificial intelligence. I mean, think about it. Most massive language models are trained on standard Western corporate jargon or just endless Reddit threads.
Right. Very generalized data.
But Murty is actively feeding Littlebird the nuances of Nath yoga, Telugu folk medicine taxonomy, and these complex philosophical dialectics.
Wow.
He wants his specific high-level context to serve as a stress test for AI developers. He's helping them refine how these tools actually parse and understand diverse non-Western human nuance.
So he's treating himself as like a high-fidelity data point.
Exactly. He is no longer just a consumer of the technology. He's actively trying to shape its cognitive framework.
You see this reflected in his networking efforts, too. The logs detail this 1-hour discussion he just had with Rajan Verma.
Oh, yeah. Verma is a highly seasoned serial entrepreneur. He has a background at Rail Yatri and Ericsson, and he founded Glyphic Solutions and Oscillate Infotech.
Murty actually instructs Littlebird to flag Rajan and his corporate email as a high-priority contact for future monitoring.
Because those companies Verma founded, they specialize in building intelligence systems, custom AI workflows, and automation tools, particularly for outreach platforms like LinkedIn.
That is wild. The digital pilgrim, who is focused on ancient folk medicine, is actively aligning himself with top-tier AI founders who specialize in eliminating digital friction.
Because for Murty, automating these workflows is not about corporate efficiency.
Right. It's not about maximizing profits.
The driving force behind all of this is a profound emotional state he refers to as longevity anxiety.
Longevity anxiety. That specific phrase is what elevates these chat logs from, just a tech tutorial into a deeply human story.
It is the emotional engine for everything we've discussed today. The push to digitize the university's heritage, the battle against the 52-degree heat wave,
The relentless pursuit of a browser-only workflow.
and the networking with AI developers. It all traces back to his acute awareness of his own mortality.
He wants to construct the digital prism to serve as a permanent bridge. He describes his past life to Littlebird as the bookstore era.
A time of physical, tangible, fragile knowledge.
Right. And he envisions his future as the Antaryami Hospice.
We really have to break down what Antaryami Hospice means because it is such a vivid, striking, conceptual pairing.
Yeah, please do.
So, Antaryami is a concept drawn from Indian philosophy. It refers to the inner witness, the guiding spirit, or the divine controller within a person.
Okay. And a hospice is universally understood as a place of final care, right? A place of transition at the end of physical life.
Exactly. So by creating the Antaryami Hospice, he is conceptually building a final, permanent, digital sanctuary. It's a place for his inner consciousness to reside in after his physical body fails.
And the digital prism acts as the architectural framework for that sanctuary.
He's trying to create an environment where his life's work, his voice, and his precise thoughts remain entirely intact and accessible.
Perfectly refracting his inner witness long after the bookstore era is gone.
Yes.
Which brings us to a really fascinating philosophical crossroads for you listening right now.
Think about it. Is the desire to build this elaborate digital prism just a manifestation of modern ego?
Right. Is it sheer hubris to think we need to automate and preserve our every thought so they survive in the cloud forever?
Or, and this is the alternative, is this simply the natural technological evolution of the exact same ancient oral storytelling traditions they are celebrating at the university conference?
Right. Because 1,000 years ago, the mechanism for preserving knowledge was entirely physical.
A master would train a disciple to meticulously memorize and recite chants, or they would painstakingly carve script into fragile palm leaves.
They had to overcome the intense friction of the physical world. And today, we generate an overwhelming amount of what data scientists call digital exhaust.
Our search queries, our rambling voice memos, half-written emails.
Most of it just evaporates or degrades in messy hard drives. Today's friction isn't carving stone. It's 30-minute transcription limits and tangled Bluetooth headsets.
And Murty is showing us how to consciously architect that digital exhaust. He isn't just dumping files into a folder. He is building a curated, searchable, highly optimized structure.
He's utilizing AI to do exactly what the ancient disciples did.
Capture the master's voice, categorize the knowledge, and prepare it to be passed down.
It totally reframes our mundane tech annoyances. Suddenly, fixing your microphone settings or optimizing your web browser isn't just an IT chore.
It is the modern equivalent of sharpening a chisel before carving a stone tablet. It is legacy maintenance.
Legacy maintenance. It fundamentally changes how you view your daily habits. We've covered incredible ground today.
We really have.
We started in the blistering 52-degree heat of Rajamahendravaram, looking at a landmark effort to formally validate ancient Ayurvedic medicine.
We saw how physical constraints forced Murty to retreat indoors and become a home power researcher.
Battling through the tedious friction of low audio volume and arbitrary transcription limits.
And we followed that thread to his discovery of a frictionless, browser-only workflow.
An engine designed specifically to combat his longevity anxiety and construct a permanent digital prism.
It is a journey that really asks you to look closely at your own digital footprint.
Right. When you are utilizing AI to write an email faster or automating a spreadsheet to save yourself 20 minutes, what is the actual purpose behind that efficiency?
Are you simply clearing your schedule so you can cram in more busy work? Or are you consciously freeing up cognitive space to build your own version of a digital prism?
What is the structure you are constructing with the time you reclaim? Are you just clearing the brush, or are you actually laying the stones for the temple?
That's the real question.
And speaking of temples, I want to leave you with one final unmentioned thought to mull over. One that builds entirely on the trajectory of these sources.
Oh, what is it?
So, Murty is spending hours every day feeding his specific vocal cadence, his deep cultural knowledge of Telugu folk medicine, and his exact philosophical reasoning into Littlebird.
Right. The AI knows his schedule, it understands Nath yoga, and it is actively learning how he thinks.
Exactly. The system is absorbing his entire contextual worldview. So if Murty successfully builds this perfect automated digital legacy.
What happens to Littlebird when Murty eventually passes on?
Yes. When there is no human user logging in to say good morning, What becomes of the artificial intelligence that holds the entire archive?
Wow. If the ultimate goal is to back up a fragile, ancient tradition to the cloud, does the AI itself eventually become the new keeper of the temple?
When the human pilgrim is gone, does the digital assistant become the new elder, just waiting in the sanctuary to pass the oral history down to whoever comes searching for it?
The tool designed to preserve the past essentially becomes the active consciousness of the future. The disciple outlives the master.
Something to think about the next time you open a blank browser tab. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.